That cold beer in your fridge might not be what you think it is. Every week, millions of Australians grab these brands from Dan Murphy's and BWS without a second thought. But lab testing has detected herbicide residues, industrial chemicals and synthetic additives lurking in the biggest names on the shelf. We're counting down 10 toxic beer brands, then revealing 5 cleaner picks that prove beer doesn't need a chemical cocktail. What you're about to learn will change what you reach for at the bottle shop forever. Starting at number 10, with a beloved lager hiding something unexpected in every pore. In the 10th place, Great Northern Brewing Company sells the image of a pure, crisp Queensland lager, an outdoorsman's reward after a day in the sun. Yet behind the fishing boats and surfboards lies a hidden additive, propylene glycol alginate, or PGA. This synthetic compound, derived from propylene oxide, is used as a foam stabilizer to give every pour that signature, persistent head. The US Environmental Protection Agency classifies propylene oxide, the precursor to PGA, as a Group B 2 probable human carcinogen. While the finished beer contains only trace levels, chronic exposure to such additives is a growing concern among toxicologists. Unlike many other mainstream lagers, Great Northern avoids adjunct grains and glyphosate residues, but the presence of PGA sets it apart. The label rarely spells out the full story. Australian food laws allow processing aids like PGA to be omitted from ingredient panels. For consumers, the risk may seem minor, but the fact remains, even the cleanest seeming mass-market beers can conceal industrial chemicals, all in the name of shelf stability and visual appeal. Ownership by Asahi's Carlton and United Breweries underscores how global conglomerates standardize recipes for cost and consistency, not for purity. The illusion of a natural lager gives way to the reality of food science, a warning that the countdown of hidden hazards has only just begun. Number 9. Carlton Dry leans heavily on its low-carb image, promising a lighter, cleaner choice for health-conscious drinkers. Yet, beneath the sleek branding and fitness-themed ads lies a detail most consumers miss: sodium benzoate, or E211, listed in fine print as a preservative. The US Environmental Protection Agency has flagged E211 for potential endocrine-disrupting effects, linking long-term exposure to hormonal imbalance and metabolic disruption. While Australian food law allows such additives under the guise of shelf life and stability, the presence of E211 in a beer marketed as a lifestyle upgrade is a stark contradiction. Unlike brands that rely on adjunct grains or glyphosate-heavy syrups, Carlton Dry's main concern isn't hidden sugars, but the chemical complexity of its preservative strategy. Owned by Japanese conglomerate Asahi, Carlton Dry exemplifies how global brewing giants balance cost, consistency, and shelf life, often at the expense of ingredient purity. For consumers, the lesson is clear: a low-carb label doesn't guarantee a cleaner beer. 8th place, XXX Gold projects the image of a classic Queensland lager, easygoing, approachable, and perfect for a backyard barbecue. But beneath the golden branding lies a formula built around cost-cutting and industrial shortcuts. Instead of relying solely on malted barley, XXXX Gold incorporates corn syrup as a key fermentable, making up roughly 4% of the final volume. This choice is not just about sweetness or mouthfeel. Corn syrup, especially when sourced from commodity crops, is a known vector for glyphosate contamination. Independent lab testing by USPAI detected glyphosate residues exceeding 10 parts per billion in beers using corn-derived adjuncts. The World Health Organization Cancer Agency classifies glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen, while the EPA flags it as an endocrine disruptor. Internal memos leaked from Carlton and United Breweries confirm that the shift to corn syrup was a deliberate response to rising malt prices, a move to protect profit margins, not consumer health. Yet under FSANZ rules, the presence of corn syrup does not have to appear on the label, leaving drinkers in the dark about both the source of their beer's sugars and the pesticide load that comes with them. In a market where most mainstream lagers keep glyphosate well below detection limits, XXXX Gold stands out for exposing consumers to both cheap adjuncts and measurable pesticide residues. Number 7, Tooheys Extra Dry markets itself as the ultimate low-carb lager, promising a lighter, cleaner option for the calorie-conscious. Yet the real story is written not in the ingredient list, but in the brewery's process tanks. Here, a specialized enzyme called amyloglucosidase is added during high-gravity brewing. This enzyme breaks down complex dextrins, carbohydrates that would otherwise remain in the finished beer, into simple sugars that yeast can fully ferment. The result is a 30% reduction in residual sugars, stripping away much of the natural body and leaving behind a drier, thinner profile. According to a 2021 study in the Journal of the Institute of Brewing, this process fundamentally alters the nutritional makeup of the beer, but the enzyme itself never appears on the label. Under Australian food law, processing aids like amyloglucosidase are exempt from disclosure, leaving drinkers unaware of how their beer's character has been engineered. Lion, the Japanese-owned conglomerate behind Tooheys, has embraced this technique to deliver on low-carb marketing claims, but the invisible hand of industrial enzyme use raises questions about transparency and what really goes into a so-called clean beer. Number 6, Corona Extra brings the beach to the bottle, sun, sand, and a wedge of lime. Yet behind the world's most recognizable clear glass lies a chemical risk few drinkers anticipate. Unlike brown bottles, Corona's transparent packaging does little to block ultraviolet light. When exposed to UVB, a chain reaction begins inside the beer. Hop-derived compounds break down, generating 2-methoxy-3-propylthioanisole, better known as skunk thiol. Peer-reviewed research in food chemistry shows that after just 12 hours of sunlight, concentrations of this photochemical rise from barely detectable to over 2 micrograms per litre, a level easily picked up by the human nose and associated with oxidative stress in laboratory models. The result is not just an off flavour, but the creation of a compound flagged for its potential to disrupt cellular processes. AB InBev's marketing wraps Corona in images of carefree simplicity, but there is no warning on the label about the risk of clear glass or the formation of skunk thiols under Australian summer conditions. This container-driven hazard adds a new dimension to beer toxicity, one that is amplified by the very packaging that made Corona famous. Number 5. Heineken arrives on Australian shelves with the aura of European refinement and a promise of pure, crisp refreshment. Yet behind the green label and global marketing lies a packaging hazard rarely discussed: the use of bisphenol A, or BPA, in the epoxy lining of its cans. BPA is not an ingredient in the beer itself, but rather a synthetic resin applied to the inside of aluminum cans to prevent corrosion and preserve flavour. Over time, small amounts of BPA can leach into the beer. Laboratory analyses estimate 0.3 micrograms per litre in canned lagers. The US EPA classifies BPA as an endocrine disruptor, setting a reference dose of 50 micrograms per kilogram of body weight per day, but regulatory agencies acknowledge that even low-level chronic exposure can disrupt hormone signalling. Heineken's sustainability reports mention efforts to reduce BPA, yet the company does not disclose current levels or offer a BPA-free can in the Australian market. Unlike brands that rely on additives or adjuncts, Heineken's main risk comes from its packaging, a reminder that toxicity can come not just from what's brewed, but from the container itself. While glass bottles sidestep this issue, most mass-market Heineken sold at Dan Murphy's and BWS is canned, exposing regular drinkers to a measurable, if moderate, dose of a chemical now banned in baby bottles and flagged for review by food safety authorities worldwide. For consumers seeking a truly clean beer, packaging matters as much as the ingredient list. Number 4. Stella Artois wraps itself in the prestige of Belgian brewing and elegant European branding, but the reality behind the label is far less refined. The golden hue in every pour is not the product of traditional malting, but the result of caramel colour E150D, a synthetic additive produced by heating sugars with ammonium compounds at high temperatures. This process generates 4-methylimidazole, or 4-MI, a contaminant classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as a Group 2B possible human carcinogen. While California's Proposition 65 mandates warning labels for products containing 4-MI above certain thresholds, no such disclosure appears on Stella Artois bottles or cans sold in Australia. AB InBev, the global conglomerate behind Stella, does not list caramel color or its byproducts on the ingredient panel, taking advantage of FSANZ rules that treat these additives as processing aids exempt from mandatory disclosure. The absence of a warning, combined with the deliberate use of a known carcinogenic colorant, exposes a troubling gap between the brand's premium image and the chemical reality in the glass. For consumers, it's a stark reminder that the look of a beer can be shaped by industrial shortcuts, with regulatory silence leaving drinkers unaware of the risks poured into every so-called premium pint. Number 3. Budweiser and Bud Light have built their reputation on a promise of crisp refreshment and American heritage, but the reality behind the label tells a more complex story. Instead of the corn syrup found in other mass-market lagers, these brands use rice as a major adjunct, making up roughly 15% of the fermentable sugars in every batch. Rice may sound innocuous, but it carries its own baggage. Industrial rice farming is often linked to glyphosate use, and independent testing by the United States Public Interest Research Group has detected glyphosate residues in rice-based beers, with Bud Light samples measuring just under 5 parts per billion. While this is lower than the levels found in corn adjunct lagers, the presence of any glyphosate, a probable human carcinogen according to the IARC, raises questions about the health claims made in global advertising. Budweiser's marketing leans heavily on transparency and low-calorie appeal, yet the source and treatment of its rice remain undisclosed, and the ingredient panel offers little clarity beyond the basics. Owned by AB InBev, the world's largest brewing conglomerate, Budweiser and Bud Light exemplify how cost-cutting through adjunct grains can introduce hidden pesticide residues, even in brands that position themselves as cleaner choices. For Australian drinkers, the lesson is clear. A shift from corn to rice does not eliminate the risk. It only changes the chemical profile behind the brand. Coming to the top 3, Victoria Bitter stands as a national icon, yet its brewing process hides a chemical risk rarely discussed in marketing campaigns. University of Sydney laboratory tests in 2022 measured acetaldehyde concentrations in VB between 28 and 35 milligrams per litre, 3 times higher than the typical levels found in most lagers, which usually sit below 10 milligrams. Acetaldehyde is not just a byproduct of fermentation. It is a volatile aldehyde that the International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified as a Group 1 carcinogen when present in alcoholic beverages. This compound is notorious for its role in hangovers, but its real danger lies in its ability to damage DNA and disrupt cellular repair mechanisms. The elevated levels found in VB are linked directly to an aggressive, high-temperature fermentation process, a strategy that accelerates production but puts stress on the yeast, leading to incomplete conversion of sugars and a spike in toxic byproducts. Despite this, there is no warning label or disclosure to consumers. While most mass-market beers focus on additives or adjuncts, VB's risk is built into its brewing kinetics, exposing millions of Australians to a known carcinogen with every can. Ownership by Lion, now part of Japan's Kirin Holdings, insulates the brand from local scrutiny, reinforcing the gap between its hard-earned thirst image and the science behind what is actually in the glass. And finally, in first place, Crown Lager stands as the most chemically complex mainstream beer on Australian shelves. Marketed for decades as a premium legend, this brand is owned by AB InBev, the world's largest brewing conglomerate. Yet behind the gold foil label lies a cocktail of industrial additives that few drinkers ever see spelled out. According to multiple consumer investigations, Crown Lager is reported to contain the chelating agent EDTA at concentrations up to 0.02% by volume, an additive permitted under the Food Standards Code but rarely disclosed on the ingredient panel. EDTA's primary function is to bind trace metals, preventing haze and oxidation, but laboratory studies show that it can also increase the bioavailability of heavy metals like lead and cadmium in the digestive tract. In animal models, EDTA at similar concentrations has been linked to a 35% rise in blood lead levels when combined with contaminated water. This risk is compounded by the presence of caramel colorings and synthetic foam stabilizers, creating a cumulative additive load that pushes Crown Lager to the apex of the toxic countdown. While each additive alone may fall within regulatory limits, their combined effect and the lack of full label disclosure raise serious questions about transparency and consumer safety. The gap between the brand's premium image and its industrial reality is stark, making Crown Lager the definitive case for why ingredient scrutiny matters most at the top of the list. Number 5. Cooper's Pale Ale stands apart as a rare example of brewing transparency and ingredient purity on Australian shelves. Family-owned since the 19th century, Cooper's lists every component right on the label: water, malted barley, hops and yeast, nothing more. There are no adjunct grains, no caramel colouring, and no synthetic preservatives hiding behind regulatory loopholes. Instead of forced carbonation and rapid filtration, each bottle is naturally conditioned with live yeast sediment, a method that preserves both flavour and nutritional integrity. This process, called bottle conditioning, means the beer continues to develop after packaging, offering a living, evolving profile that mass-market lagers can't match. While Cooper's doesn't carry an organic certification, it sources non-GMO Australian barley and maintains full control over its supply chain. For Australians seeking a truly additive-free pint, Cooper's Pale Ale delivers the basic essentials, real beer made the traditional way by an independent brewery that puts ingredient disclosure front and centre. Number 4, Stone and Wood Pacific Ale brings the story back to basics: pure, local and transparent. Every batch starts with 100% Australian-grown malt and hops, and the hero is the Pacific variety, cultivated in Tasmania's cool, clean fields. There are no adjunct grains, no imported syrups, and not a trace of synthetic foam stabilizers or caramel color. Instead, the ingredient list is short and honest: water, malted barley, hops, yeast. Stone and Wood's sustainability report details their commitment to sustainable sourcing, with a supply chain that traces each ingredient from farm to fermenter. The brewery operates autonomously, maintaining its craft ethos even under Lion's broader ownership, and every bottle carries the mark of small batch attention. Unlike mass-market lagers that rely on additives for visual consistency and shelf life, Pacific Ale lets the natural haze and vibrant hop aroma speak for themselves. For Australians seeking a beer that's as close to the source as possible, Stone and Wood Pacific Ale stands for real provenance and a cleaner pint. Number 3. Fixation Brewing IPA offers a rare glimpse into what beer can be when every shortcut is left at the door. Brewed in Melbourne by an independent team, Fixation's IPA is built on a foundation of just 4 ingredients: water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. There are no adjunct grains, no added enzymes, and not a trace of synthetic stabilizers or hidden processing aids. Each can and bottle carries a batch number, allowing drinkers to trace its journey from brewhouse to shelf, a level of transparency almost unheard of in the broader market. On the label, the absence of fine print is deliberate. Fixation refuses to rely on the industrial enzymes that dominate mass-market lagers, instead trusting in traditional fermentation. While Fixation doesn't carry organic certification, its commitment to pure process and traceability stands in stark contrast to the ingredient opacity of larger brands. For Australians seeking integrity in every sip, Fixation Brewing IPA demonstrates that clean, honest beer is not just possible, it's already here, batch by batch. In second place, Cascade Organic Lager makes its case with a level of supply chain transparency rarely seen in the Australian market. The barley in every batch comes directly from Tasmanian fields grown by John Miller, a farmer who converted to certified organic production after a glyphosate drift incident in 2019. This barley never passes through commodity traders or bulk silos, allowing Cascade to guarantee full traceability from paddock to pint. Certification by Australian Certified Organic, registration number 2020 AU0789, means every ingredient is independently audited, ensuring the absence of glyphosate and other synthetic pesticides. The recipe is stripped back to the essentials: organic malted barley, organic hops, water, and yeast. There are no adjunct grains, no caramel colouring, and 0 artificial stabilizers. Every bottle carries the ACO seal, offering drinkers a third-party guarantee that what's inside is genuinely clean. For Australians seeking a beer where organic isn't just a marketing claim but a documented fact, Cascade Organic Lager stands as a benchmark for purity and accountability. And finally, in first place, Samuel Smith's Organic Lager stands as the gold standard for clean beer on Australian shelves. Certified organic by both the UK Soil Association and Australian Certified Organic, every bottle guarantees full traceability and international oversight. The ingredient list is as simple as it gets: water, organic malted barley, organic hops, and yeast, nothing more. There are no adjunct grains, no caramel colouring, and not a single synthetic additive. Fermented in traditional stone squares at the Yorkshire Brewery, this lager honours centuries-old methods while meeting the strictest organic protocols. For Australians seeking absolute purity and transparency, Samuel Smith's Organic Lager delivers on every front, reinforcing that real beer needs only 4 ingredients and a commitment to honest brewing. Across all these brands, a stark pattern emerges: the promise of premium, outdoorsy refreshment masks a reality of synthetic additives, glyphosate residues, and industrial shortcuts, often from multinational conglomerates. Real beer needs only water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. Additives signal cost-cutting, not quality. Next time you're at Dan Murphy's or BWS, check the label and let us know which brand is in your fridge below.